The woman who fights alone. Ladies and gentlemen, I often say that people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it, and that got me thinking. What drives her, the woman who fights alone? Not because she wants to, not because she planned to, but because somewhere along the way, life whispered, "You're going to have to do this on your own." And she answered, "Then I will." I met a woman once, single mom, 3 kids, working 2 jobs. Not a leader in title, not on magazine covers. But if you looked close enough, you'd see, she leads. She leads with courage in chaos. She leads with grit when others give up. She leads not because she's fearless, but because something inside her matters more than fear. She has no applause when she gets up at 5 a.m. No standing ovation when she pays off one more bill. No parade when she chooses dignity over shortcuts. And still, she fights, alone. Leadership isn't always what we think it is. We're often taught to see leaders as the loudest voices in the room, the ones on stage, the ones in command. We associate leadership with authority, prestige, and titles. But the truth is, leadership is far more human than that. It's not about being in charge. It's about choosing to show up, especially when it's hard, especially when no one else does. And perhaps no one embodies this kind of leadership better than the woman who fights alone. She doesn't have a spotlight. She doesn't have a crowd clapping for her every move. Most of what she does goes unnoticed. There's no applause when she wakes up before dawn to prepare for a job that barely pays the bills. There's no award for putting on a brave face when the weight of the world is on her shoulders. There's no cheering section when she picks herself up for the 100th time after being knocked down by life. Yet every day she leads. She leads with quiet courage. She leads with persistence. She leads through the example of her own resilience. And that's what real leadership is, the willingness to move forward in the face of difficulty, not because someone told you to, but because something inside you knows you must. This kind of leadership is deeply personal. It's not motivated by recognition. It's not driven by ambition or public approval. It's rooted in something far more meaningful: necessity, love, responsibility. She leads because she has no choice. She fights alone because the fight is real, and waiting for help isn't an option. And while the world often overlooks her, she quietly changes it. Her actions may seem small in the moment, but they ripple outward. She is the foundation upon which others stand. Her strength becomes a model. Her tenacity inspires others to believe they can endure too. In her persistence, she offers others permission to persist. This is what we so often miss about leadership. It's not reserved for special people. It's revealed in ordinary people who respond to extraordinary circumstances with unwavering resolve. It's the single mother who chooses to stay present for her kids even after an exhausting day. It's the woman who decides to pursue her education in her 40s while working nights. It's the woman who builds a business from her kitchen table while the world doubts her. No one crowned her. No one gave her a title. And yet, she leads. She leads in a way that doesn't ask for attention. She leads in a way that inspires others to rise. She teaches us that leadership isn't about being seen. It's about being there, in the fight, in the mess, in the struggle. It's about being consistent when quitting looks easier. It's about showing up every single day when no one else will. And the most powerful thing, she's not waiting for permission. She's not waiting for ideal conditions. She's not waiting for a perfect moment. She's already in motion, already building, already fighting. That is the essence of leadership, taking responsibility not just for yourself, but for something greater. And in doing so, you lead others not just by what you say, but by who you are. So, when we talk about leaders, let's not forget her. Let's not ignore the woman who fights alone, not because she wants to, but because she knows someone has to. And in her fight, in her quiet, relentless determination, she shows us what leadership really looks like. Not loud, not flashy, but real, relentless, and profoundly human. Fear is a powerful thing. It has the ability to paralyze us, to make us second guess ourselves, to keep us stuck in comfort zones that feel safe but suffocate our growth. Most people wait until the fear goes away before they act, but for the woman who fights alone, that's not a luxury she can afford. Fear is always there, the stakes are always high, and yet she moves. She acts, she persists, not because she's fearless, but because her purpose is stronger than her fear. There's a misconception in our culture that bravery is the absence of fear, but that's not true. Bravery is feeling fear, acknowledging it, and moving forward anyway. And that's what sets her apart. She's not superhuman. She's not immune to doubt or worry. She feels the weight of uncertainty just like anyone else. But there's something inside her, something deeper, more grounded, that refuses to let fear have the final say. That something is her why. Her why is what wakes her up in the morning, even when she's exhausted. It's what keeps her pushing forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. Maybe it's her children. Maybe it's a dream she's been holding onto for years. Maybe it's the belief that she's meant for something more, that the pain she's endured has a purpose, that her story matters. Whatever it is, it's bigger than her fear, and because of that, she keeps going. Purpose is an anchor. It keeps us steady when everything around us feels like it's falling apart. It gives us direction when fear tries to cloud our vision. For the woman who fights alone, her purpose isn't abstract. It's real, immediate, and deeply personal. It's not about chasing status or recognition. It's about survival. It's about building a better life. It's about breaking cycles and opening doors that were always closed before. When we understand this, we begin to see her courage in a different light. It's not just admirable, it's instructional. She's showing us that fear doesn't have to be the enemy. It doesn't have to be a stop sign. It can simply be a part of the journey. Because when your purpose is strong enough, fear becomes background noise. It's there, but it doesn't drive the car. Purpose takes the wheel. This is how revolutions begin. Not with massive crowds or grand speeches, but with one person standing in the face of fear, refusing to back down because something within them is too important to abandon. That's what the woman who fights alone embodies. Every day she chooses to act, to show up, to try again. She is resisting fear with purpose. And the beautiful irony is this. Though she may feel alone, though her fight may be silent, she's never truly isolated. Because courage like hers has a ripple effect. It inspires others to find their own why, to move through their own fear. Her strength gives others permission to believe that they too can keep going. We all experience fear, but when we let purpose lead, fear loses its grip. That's what makes the woman who fights alone so powerful. Her actions remind us that we don't need to eliminate fear. We just need to outgrow it. And the only way to do that is to root ourselves in something bigger than ourselves. Her story is not one of fearlessness. It's one of fear and resolve, fear and faith, fear and action. And when you put purpose in the driver's seat, even the deepest fear can't stop you. That's the lesson she teaches us, simply by living it, day after day, choice after choice, fight after fight. Strength is often misunderstood. We've been conditioned to believe that it's loud, bold, and commanding. That strength is found in speeches that echo through crowds, in headlines that declare victory, in moments that shine in the spotlight. But that's not the whole picture. In fact, some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who never make the news. They're not breaking records or leading companies. They're simply living their lives, quietly, consistently, and with extraordinary resilience. The woman who fights alone is one of them. Her strength isn't loud. It's silent and it's real. She doesn't walk into a room demanding attention. She doesn't need applause or validation. She's not here to impress anyone. Her strength shows up in the little moments, moments most people overlook. It's in the early mornings when she drags herself out of bed after a restless night, knowing there's no one else to carry the day forward but her. It's in the quiet budgeting session at the kitchen table, where she tries to stretch every dollar just a little further to make ends meet. It's in the way she holds herself together in front of her children, even when her heart is breaking. There is nothing glamorous about this kind of strength. It doesn't come with trophies or cheers. It's raw. It's steady, it's often invisible, but it is exactly this kind of strength that keeps the world turning. The woman who fights alone doesn't get breaks. She doesn't get backup. She fights battles others don't see, and she wins them without recognition. She picks herself up every time life knocks her down. She chooses dignity when bitterness would be easier. She chooses progress when staying stuck would be more comfortable. And she does it all with quiet determination. We live in a world that is noisy, a world that celebrates the flashy and the dramatic. But real strength isn't found in volume. It's found in consistency. It's found in discipline. It's found in the ability to keep going when you have every reason to give up. Think about that for a second. How often do we equate strength with dominance, with power, with being the loudest voice in the room? But the woman who fights alone is redefining strength every single day, simply by choosing to show up. There's no audience clapping for her when she goes to work sick because she can't afford to take a day off. There's no camera recording the moment she finishes her degree at night while raising her kids during the day. But these moments, they are everything. They are proof of a strength that goes far beyond physical endurance or social status. Her strength is quiet, yes, but it is unshakable. It doesn't ask for attention, but it deserves respect. Because to keep moving forward in silence, without support, without accolades, that takes a kind of courage many will never understand. The beauty of her strength is that it doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need to be seen to make an impact. It doesn't need validation to be real. It just is. She reminds us that some of the strongest people are the ones no one claps for. The ones who carry burdens in silence. The ones who lead themselves through chaos, not because they want to, but because they have to. So the next time we think of strength, let's remember her. Not the loud, not the proud, not the celebrated, but the woman who wakes up, shows up, and never gives up. Her strength is quiet, yes, but it echoes louder than any applause ever could. It's easy to admire strength from a distance. It's easy to be inspired by someone's resilience once they've made it through the storm. We often look at the woman who fights alone and say things like, "She's so strong. I don't know how she does it," or "She's an inspiration." And while those words are well-meaning, they're not enough. Admiration is not support. Praise is not partnership. Watching someone survive isn't the same as helping them thrive. The truth is, the woman who fights alone doesn't need our compliments. She needs our presence, our action, our willingness to step in, not after the fight is over, but while the battle is still raging. We live in a society that celebrates the survivor, but rarely asks why she had to survive on her own in the first place. We romanticize strength, but we don't always question the systems, the silence, or the indifference that forced her to become that strong. We clap when she gets to the finish line, but too few of us walk beside her on the way there. Support means more than kind words. It means lifting the weight when she can't carry it alone. It means noticing when she's tired before she has to ask for help. It means offering resources, time, or simply a listening ear. It means refusing to let her become invisible in a world that often only sees women when they're smiling, polished, and put together. When a woman fights alone, it's often not because she chose to. It's because she had no one else to fight with her. And that's a failure, not on her part, but on ours. We're not meant to do life in isolation. We're meant to lean on each other, to hold each other up, to share the load. So when we see someone doing it all by themselves, the question shouldn't be, how is she doing that? But rather, why is she doing that alone? The kind of strength that carries someone through hardship without support is admirable, but it shouldn't be required. We need to build a world where that kind of isolation isn't seen as noble, but as a call to action. A society that sees the woman who's barely holding it all together and doesn't just cheer her on from the sidelines, but steps into the game to help her carry the weight. Because here's the reality: no one was made to do everything alone. Not emotionally, not physically, not financially. When we celebrate the woman who's doing it all without acknowledging that she shouldn't have to, we unintentionally reinforce the very systems that isolate her in the first place. Let's start seeing her not just as a source of inspiration, but as a signal that something's broken, that support is missing, that there's an opportunity, an obligation, for us to step in and make a difference. She's already doing her part. She's showing up every day, fighting battles behind closed doors, building a future out of scraps of hope. What she needs now is for us to stop standing in awe and start standing beside her. That means changing the way we show up for each other. That means listening more, judging less, offering more, expecting less. It means creating spaces where she doesn't have to ask for help, because the help is already there. Admiration is passive, support is active, and the woman who fights alone doesn't need more admirers. She needs teammates. She needs people who won't just say, "You've got this," but who will look her in the eye and say, "We've got this together." When we see a woman fighting alone, it's easy to think the battle is hers alone, that it's personal, individual, isolated. But that assumption misses the truth entirely. The fight she's in, though deeply personal, is never just about her. It's bigger than her, always has been. Because when she chooses to stand up, to keep going despite the odds, she's not just fighting for her own survival. She's fighting for possibility, for change, for those who come after her. Her battle is a ripple. What she overcomes becomes a path for others. What she endures becomes a lesson for the world around her. Maybe she's the first in her family to go to college. Maybe she's breaking free from a cycle of abuse, of poverty, of generational silence. Maybe she's raising children to believe they can be more than what the world told her she could be. Whatever her specific struggle is, the impact stretches far beyond her own life. Her fight is for the next girl who needs a role model. For the young women watching from the sidelines, wondering if they have what it takes. For the community that needs to see what's possible when someone refuses to quit. She may feel alone in the moment, but her persistence is planting seeds she might never even see bloom. That's the paradox of real change. It starts with a single person, often in silence, but its effects echo through generations. She's fighting to change the narrative, to rewrite what's expected, to redefine what's possible. And that kind of work isn't just exhausting. It's revolutionary. It challenges norms. It threatens comfort zones. It pushes against long-standing beliefs about what a woman should be or how much she can take before she breaks. And in doing so, she's not just pushing through her own pain. She's pushing back on the limitations that society has tried to place on countless others like her. Her fight becomes a mirror. It forces us to reflect on the roles we play. Are we supporting her? Are we amplifying her voice? Are we recognizing the structures that made her struggle necessary in the first place? Or are we simply watching, quietly impressed, grateful that it's not us in her shoes? She didn't ask to be a symbol. She didn't set out to lead a movement. But that's often how true leadership begins. Not with the intention to lead, but with the refusal to give up. She is a living example that strength doesn't come from ease. It comes from endurance, from a clear purpose, from choosing to fight even when the odds are unfair. And what makes her even more powerful is this: she's doing it all without certainty. There's no guarantee that things will get easier, no promise that the fight will end soon. But still she shows up, still she believes, not because she's naive, but because she knows the stakes. She knows that if she stops now, the cycle continues. The silence wins, the fear stays in control. So she keeps going, for her kids, for her future. For every person who needs to believe that they're not stuck, that they're not alone, that they can break through too. This is the kind of courage that builds new worlds. Not through speeches or slogans, but through daily, often invisible acts of resistance. Through the simple but defiant decision to keep going. She may be fighting alone in the moment, but make no mistake, what she's fighting for will outlive her. Her battle is a bridge, and because she chose not to give up, someone else will walk across it tomorrow. We live in a world that celebrates individual strength. We admire the ones who rise against all odds, who make it through the storm alone. But there comes a point when we must ask a deeper question. Not just how they survived, but why they had to face it alone in the first place. The woman who fights alone doesn't need another round of applause when she finally makes it. She needs someone to stand beside her while she's still in the middle of the storm. She needs people willing to share the weight, not just praise her for carrying it all on her own. We've been taught that independence is the highest form of strength. And while self-reliance is admirable, it can also become a prison when it isolates us. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that asking for help was weakness, that needing support made someone less capable. But nothing could be further from the truth. It takes far more courage to admit you can't do it all than to pretend you can. It takes far more strength to say, "I'm not okay," than to wear a mask and keep moving. The woman who fights alone is doing everything, holding down a job, raising a family, chasing a dream, holding herself together in silence. And yet, the weight she's carrying was never meant for one set of shoulders. It's too much, too heavy, too constant, and still she carries it because she has to, because no one else stepped in. We cheer for her resilience, but admiration alone doesn't lighten the load. What she truly needs is connection. Not just people who will clap when she wins, but people who will walk with her through the long, lonely middle. She needs someone to show up, not just in the moments of celebration, but in the moments of exhaustion, of doubt, of near defeat. Imagine if, instead of leaving her to bear the burden alone, we stepped in, if we asked how we could help and actually meant it, if we stopped judging her for needing support and started honoring her for being honest about it. If we created a culture where vulnerability wasn't punished but embraced, where it wasn't heroic to do it all alone, but expected that we would do it together. The goal isn't to make her less strong. It's to make sure she doesn't have to be strong all the time. Even the fiercest warrior needs rest. Even the strongest soul needs shelter, and it should never be shameful to need help. We were built for connection, built for interdependence, built to lift one another up when the weight becomes too much. Because here's the truth, when we share the weight, the burden gets lighter for everyone. When we stop expecting people to do the impossible on their own, we start making the possible accessible. We create space for healing, for hope, for actual progress, not just survival. We stop merely cheering for her resilience and start contributing to her restoration. The woman who fights alone is not a myth. She's everywhere. She's in our families, our workplaces, our communities. And every time we look away, every time we tell ourselves she's got it, without asking if she's okay, we leave her in the storm by herself. It's time to change that. It's time to stop making strength a solo act. It's time to build a culture where people reach out, where support is offered before it's begged for, where we walk into storms together, not just watch them from a distance. She's been fighting alone for too long. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Let's make sure the next time she doesn't have to. Let's carry the weight with her, so she doesn't have to carry it for everyone else.